Where do you feel that you are in that recovery cycle from those years of trade sanctions and tariffs from China? Because obviously they were very difficult years, not just for you, but other winemakers here in Australia. So where do you feel you are? Are you back to full recovery? Have you got a way to go?
Our biggest constraint, so we're where we expected to be, if not slightly better than where we expected to be at this point in time. The challenge for us is not having enough wine to sell globally. So the strength of Penfolds around the world is such that we had to reallocate wine to re-establish ourselves here in China. But as we look around the distribution build, the availability of Penfolds, it's back as the #1 brand in this market now, luxury wine brand in China. You know, some 9 months after we were locked out of the market. So it's a pretty remarkable achievement.
I do want to get your sense on how you're looking at the demand environment shaping up, Tim, on a trend basis.
Yeah, I think certainly the demand, and we sort of look at demand two ways here, luxury wine and the broader wine category. The broader wine category is in decline, as it is everywhere around the world, but generally at lower price points. The consumers continue to trade up. Drinking less wine, but drinking better priced wine is the way we term it from that point of view. That's happening here in China as well. And the luxury category, which we term above 200 RMB and above, is now in growth again. And that's largely driven by Penfolds being back in the market. So while we're reasonably optimistic that whilst it's been a tough couple of years from a demand perspective, having the consumer now really enjoying Australian wine and Penfolds in particular again has given a boost to the total wine category. There's no doubt about that.
Tim, I understand that you're also introducing a locally produced Penfolds brand in China. How much of that is an insurance strategy against any potential future trade spats or sanctions from China on Aussie wine?
Yeah, look, we've produced the Chinese Penfolds, or CWT as we call that, over the last 3 to 4 years. We actually started that project before the tariffs were put in place. And we think it's a really important signal to the Chinese consumer to bring together great Chinese wine. It is a fantastic quality wine, with a brand that's trusted by all consumers in this market. So that's the first side of it. The second side of it was we've recently acquired a majority equity stake in the Stone and Moon brand and winery in Ningxia here in China. Now that's a very important step for us to actually invest in the Chinese winemaking community, the Chinese winemaking industry, that enables us to become more part of the local business, the local wine community. So yes, it's about building a brand with Chinese produced wine, which are great quality, but also it's about investing in the local communities, investing in the local industries, which is what we do in all markets around the world. So this is the first step in China. It's a pretty exciting first step.
Indeed it is. You were talking earlier, Tim, about how you're putting a lot of effort into sort of the luxury end of wines and the higher margin, obviously, brands. And you were looking to sell your cheaper brands division, the names like Wolf Blass and Lindemans, which, by the way, we've all enjoyed very much over the decades. But that fell through, or you pulled the sale. But if I'm right in thinking part of the strategy behind wanting to sell the cheaper division is because younger drinkers are increasingly sober curious. They're shunning drinking alcohol. How are you dealing with that trend?
Yeah, look, the younger consumers, as with all consumers really, are drinking less but drinking better, as we call it. So shifting our centre of gravity of our business up the price points is clearly what we term going where the consumer's going. And that's a reality of the consumer trend that you need to adapt your business to. And we think we've done a pretty good job to do that. I mean, think about our business now is about 80% of our earnings comes from what we would term luxury wine, which in Australian dollars is above $30 a bottle retail price. So it's a very significant shift in our business that we've made through growing, with the brands we had, but also through acquisition, particularly in the US over the last 2 to 3 years. So it's a very clear strategy that, the consumer leads our strategy. There's no doubt about that.